Well, we have been telling you about these explosive new audio recordings that have been released between Mel Gibson, reportedly, and the mother of his 8-month-old daughter. Here is one of the latest. Take a listen.
I deserve to be first before the jacuzzi. I'll burn the house down. But me first. How dare you? How dare you? You wanted the number of my therapist? Don't you ever speak to him. Find your own therapist. Because you got problems more than me.
You need medication.
You gotta push my buttons, and it is not going to work with us. It's not. I can't get like this anymore.
If these tapes are what they appear to be, there is so much anger in these voices. And now there are reports that although Mel Gibson's ex-girlfriend would like to use these tapes as evidence against the actor in her domestic violence case, Gibson's lawyers are saying not so fast with that one. These tapes, as we have reported to you, have been coming from Radar Online. They are also reporting today, by the way, that Mel Gibson's lawyers are going to meet with the district attorney. Wendy Murphy is a former prosecutor. Keith Sullivan is a defense attorney. Keith, I would say you've got the tougher job in this one. So far on these tapes, there's discussion of being punched in the face, broken teeth, threats with a gun. Clearly threats to kill, because there are moments when he talks about her being in the garden. I'm assuming that means buried in the garden. How do you defend this if you're his attorney?
There's no question that these tapes are very disturbing and damaging. But what we need to do is take a step back and really look at the evidence, the so-called or purported evidence. First of all, it appears as if these tapes were obtained illegally. California is a two-party state. That means both parties to a conversation must consent to being audio taped. There is a crime exception for burglary, extortion, kidnapping, and crimes of violence that may be able to allow these to be admissible, but a judge is going to have to make that determination.
All right, so Wendy, if that's the case, and we want to deal, with the law here and how it applies to all of this, if that is the case, can her attorneys say her life was threatened and she did this to defend herself?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt these tapes are coming in, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Radar Online has not gotten any kind of court order or challenge or letter from Gibson's lawyers saying stop with all these leaks. And obviously, if it were not him, if they were not authentic, if they had been illegally obtained, they could have gone to court and literally gotten an order compelling Radar Online to stop releasing them. That hasn't happened. The other thing is there's so much on these tapes that is compelling about how dangerous he was. And Keith's right. There's a big exception in California law. It is a two-party consent state, but the exceptions are so big, and they are very generous. The courts are very generous about letting tapes in when there are threats, especially to commit acts of violence, especially in domestic violence cases. Look, this guy sounds like a slave master from the antebellum South on these tapes. And, if anything, I think he should fall on his sword and move to another country for 5 years. Do a Polanski. Get out of town. There is no way a judge is going to disallow these tapes, and no way he's going to walk away without some kind of criminal punishment in this case.
It's interesting legally, as you point out, if that's the case, Wendy, that they have not, challenged these tapes, the veracity of these tapes, and that they're not even asking for them to be stopped. Talk to me a little bit about that, Keith, in terms of the legal ramifications. On a personal level, it's hard to imagine how these people stayed in the same house together for this long, and why they allowed this to continue is beyond me.
Martha, it makes no sense for his defense attorneys to challenge these in the court of public opinion. That's a PR campaign. Leave that alone. What the lawyers are doing is appropriate. They're sitting back waiting. This is just an investigation. He has not been arrested. He has not been indicted. He hasn't been charged with anything. They're going to challenge these things in the appropriate forum, and that's a court of law.
I gotcha.
As far as the crimes that he may have committed, I think at the end of the day, he's going to walk away with a slap on the wrist, if that, and probably no criminal conviction. There's no chance.
You know what, Wendy, that was my next question to you. Wendy, as you look at only the evidence that we have so far, if we can assume that these tapes are the real deal, what charges specifically could you confidently bring?
I tell you, I'd investigate him for mayhem, which is an assault and battery to the face that causes some kind of damage to the lip, the ear. Clearly here we've got reports that she lost teeth. That's mayhem. That's an 8-year felony. I'd investigate him for hate crimes, which tacks on a couple more years to any felony that he is charged with. We know he's being investigated for child endangerment. Unfortunately, that's a misdemeanor. Simple assault and battery, even domestic assault and battery can be misdemeanor charges.
What about the death threat?
And the threats are a little bit harder because you have to have the context and the timing has to be there. You can't report a threat 6 months later. So I don't know that he'll get in trouble for that. But I'll tell you, the court of public opinion matters to Mel Gibson, and the court in the real world, the real court, is going to be hard-pressed not to punish him, because if he walks away with a slap on the wrist after she got a punch in the mouth and lost teeth, this public is going to become cynical and outraged. His rage is going to be vivid compared to our outrage if he gets a slap on the wrist.
Where is the proof of that? She's claiming that this took place 6 months ago. Why didn't she come forward then? She's claiming she has a chipped tooth. There's 1,001 ways a person could chip a tooth. That doesn't mean a man punched her.
It's
outrageous.
Pictures.
We'll leave it there for now.
Thank you.
Well, we will see. Wendy Murphy, thanks so much. Always good to have you here. Keith Sullivan, very good to have you with us as well. Thank you both.
New number.